Welcome back to another episode of the Be a Paid Speaker Now podcast. Yes, this is a podcast where you hear from experts on how you can be a paid speaker. Whether you're new to the field of speaking or you're a seasoned veteran, we interview experts from all fields, from doctors to financial experts, so you can learn the business of speaking. And I am Deborah Deras, your hostess with the mostest, here to share with you all the strategies and secrets after 18 years as a public speaker. And I'm so grateful that you're not going to have to make the mistakes that I have made. And let me tell you, being in quarantine, being in lockdown, being in curfew has taught me so much. One of the things that it taught me was to have multiple streams of income. We're going to talk about finance today. And one of the things I'm so grateful that I created before this was an online program, the Be a Paid Speaker Now Academy. And those of you that are listening that you're like infopreneurs, you have all this content, but you need to get it out. You literally can and create your own online program. And one of the things that I want to give you from this podcast is a 28-day free trial to Kajabi. That's what I use. It's Kajabi. I'll put it in the show notes and you could try it out. Don't wait till it's perfect. Get it done. You heard me on Instagram yesterday. GSD, get stuff done. So if you need support, I am here and available to coach you to get your information online because you are here to monetize your magnificence. I also have another great webinar that's coming up to help you with that. Just because we are in quarantine and conferences are canceled does not mean you cannot be a paid speaker. I just booked a contract to do a series of webinars, and you can deliver effective, dynamic, and captivating webinars as well. And Wednesday, for Webinar Wednesday on July 1st, I am going to be facilitating a webinar on how to deliver webinars. How fantastic, by popular demand. So if you're interested in that, you can definitely check that out on my website, deborahderas.com/webinars. If you want to try the Kajabi, you could go to the Be a Paid Speaker Now podcast and get the link for your 28-day free trial. Okay, enough of that. We have a very special guest that I've been dying to have on the show. And you ask people and you don't know if they'll be available. You don't know, what's going on. And it's just kind of like, will she come on the show? And she said yes. And I've been following on Instagram for a while. And let me tell you, those of you that want to build your brand on Instagram, I don't even know if you know this. I taught an Instagram class and I had a slide with your Instagram because she is doing it right. She is not just an entrepreneur. She is not just a financial expert. She is not just a speaker, but she knows how to build a brand online. And that's one of the reasons I'm excited to introduce you to the beautiful Eva Macias. She is a powerful leader and sought after speaker in the financial industry. Eva's specialty is helping women to create a simple to follow financial plan in 60 minutes or less. Ooh, we love that. After learning her parents were retiring with just $1,100, Eva decided to dedicate her life to teaching women and working families how to achieve financial freedom. She is committed to leveling the financial playing field for all families so that everyone can achieve their financial goals. And she is our guest for our 67th episode of the Be a Paid Speaker Now podcast.
Welcome. Hello. Thank you. I'm so excited to be on. I know it's one of those things where we've actually known each other for quite some time already, and we just never did this.
Yeah, meeting you and connecting with you, admiring you, but really getting to know your story, I think is so important because everyone has a pain and a passion that when we put it into our purpose, it allows us to create a business that's heart-based and we'll never get tired of it. So tell the story a little bit about your parents and how you got into the financial world.
So back in 2008, a little bit prior to that, 2006, I was already starting to see a decline in the market. And at that time, I was actually an escrow officer. And what ended up happening is I was overworked. I was working way too many hours, long hours. and I wasn't getting paid what I used to get paid before, right? I was working more, but getting paid less.
Oh,
And I also started noticing that in the downfall of the market, the crash of the market, we were actually getting a lot more work because I was in the real estate industry per se. And I always knew I'm the youngest of eight. And so my family always said, invest into something, invest into something. You're in real estate, so buy a house. So I
right.
ended up buying a house at the age of 23. And that was my first time home buying experience. And I got that. But the interesting part about all of that is that when I bought my house and I was, independent, I also didn't know in 2008 that money was going to stop flowing in.
No,
And
I
and
didn't know either.
I was like, what do you mean? Right? Because it's a sudden surprise, even though we're going through a lot more right now, but it was a surprise to me knowing that money wasn't going to flow as frequently as it was before. So I actually went to a conference, or like a mini conference, and I remember people talking about statistics, and one of the statistics was related to most likely I was going to have the same financial plan as my parents. And I was like, I don't know what they have. And so I asked my older sister, who handles my parents' finances, not that they have all this money, but my parents don't read English. So she's the one that does all the paperwork. Or I was like, wait, what, how are mom and dad living? And she tells me, she's like, mom and dad both collect Social Security. And I'm like, how much? And when she told me that it was like $1,100 at that time, one of my car payments was $1,200.
Oh my
I
God.
was like, and I owned 5 cars. So
Oh
I was like, what do you mean mom and dad only live off of $1,100? My car payment's $1,200. And
Ooh, what kind of
that
car?
happened.
Was it a Maserati? What kind of car?
No, it was actually a super decked out Mercedes.
Right.
And the interesting thing about that though is that that didn't sit right up here and it
Right.
didn't sit right in the heart. You're like, wait a minute, my parents are living off of that and I'm over here with one car payment that equals to that. Like, it didn't make logical sense to me.
Right.
And so from that point forward, I started asking a lot more dumb questions, right? Because they're not dumb, but they're dumb. I didn't know anything. And then I reached out to my employer and I was like, hey, do you offer a 401k? And she was like, not right now, maybe in the near future. But that near future really never came. And so I wanted more information about it. And as I continued to ask more questions, really it was for my parents on why they only retired off of this. I started realizing that I actually needed the information.
Right.
That even though I was doing it for them or I was trying to get information for them, I had no idea that all that information was information that I personally needed. And so for that reason, I was like, oh no, something has to happen. And from that point forward, I went down the deep hole of financial planning. And here we are, 12 and a half years later. I literally have a passion for it. I have a love for it. I couldn't see my life without it.
I love it. That curiosity and the desire to serve and help your parents led you to I believe it's not even a career or a job. It's like a destiny. Like, this is your soul's contract. This is
Yeah.
what you're meant to do. Right.
And I didn't know that. For the longest time, I thought I was going to get the information from my parents, get it for me, and that's it, because I was so embarrassed to share my mess, right? Because I was in a hot mess.
Right.
And I was like, there's no way anybody's going to listen to me. There's no way at all I'm going to share my private information about how, I couldn't pay my bills, how broke I was, how really I was successful, but the success was all fake, in the sense that you don't own anything. It's just pretty houses and cars, but you don't own anything, right? And I didn't realize until later on, where I started really doing my homework, where I was like, I wonder how many other amazing families that have really good values and morals don't know about this. And at that point is when I actually literally said, I'm going to put it out there. I'm going to let the universe take over me. And I turned my mess into a message. And from there, like I said, yep, I fell in love with it. I continuously grow each year to want to create something better, and just get creative with this industry, because this industry is definitely an industry that women don't like to talk about.
Right. Right. I love that. That's tweetable, as Oprah would say. Turn your mess into the message and then monetize your magnificence, because I think Marianne Williamson says this. She says that our wound is our gift. It's like whatever we had to, our challenge and what we had to overcome, that's what we're here to teach. And I remember one day I was scrolling on Instagram and I saw you were like teaching a class. I was like, who's doing this? Nobody's doing this. And I thought that was your Wealthy Wednesday. How did you get
Yeah.
inspired to do Wealthy Wednesday? And
I still remember the first Wealthy Wednesday I did was outside of my first home. And I kept getting like basic questions from people that would ask me either a text message, a phone call, an email, and they were like the same questions over and over. So I felt like I was repeating myself so often with so many people, right? And I was afraid to jump on social media. Like I was that girl that was like, oh no, I don't want social media. Like I don't need to connect with anybody from high school. Like, no way. I'm not trying to date anybody from school or like, just I had this like preconceived thought of social media. And a funny story, I met my husband through Facebook and I've connected with, and yes, which is crazy. And I've connected with some people from high school, which are actually now my clients, which is so crazy to
there
me.
you go.
So as I jumped on and I did my first Wealthy Wednesday, I literally just jumped on the phone and I said, hey everyone, just want to connect with you guys, and you guys have questions about some of these things, let me just reach out to you because I know that I can reach a lot more people if I just went through social media. I think I must have done like 25 videos before it actually landed to the video that I was like, okay, this is what I'm going to post up.
Well,
But I
really?
just did it. Yeah. I would not be that girl that would just jump on and do a video really quick. I felt so silly. I used to like get this stomach sensation like, oh my God, what are people going to think? What are people going to think? It wasn't until I got it registered in my head that I was making the video about me and not about them. And so that fear that I was really like clenching my stomach and like if my hair is going to be okay and all that stuff was really about me. And I was making that about me. So when I connected the dots and like, wait, this is not about you. This is about them. You got to get value out to them. Thanks to, Gary V. He's like value, value, value. And that's when it connected. And I started it and it's been over 3 years of Wealthy Wednesdays, every Wednesday at 7 o'clock, no matter what. I think I might have 3 years, and I think I've missed maybe two Wealthy Wednesdays. Even while I'm on vacation, I've actually done them. Even if I'm on the other side of the country, I've done them. And the interesting thing about it is that I actually own, I've trademarked Wealthy Wednesdays.
Oh, that's
So
fantastic.
yeah, so now Wealthy Wednesdays, I've been stopped at the post office. You're like, oh, you're that Wealthy Wednesday girl. Like, it's been amazing. And we talk about different subjects or different topics, just looking at finance in a different perspective, in a way that's non-threatening to people sometimes, because I think when you read all the lingo, you get a little intimidated. I'm like, I want to get the information and have it sit here so that you know how you can apply it at home.
And one day a television show is going to call you and just say, we want to put this on the air.
Let's go ahead and put that in the universe.
No,
Absolutely.
a friend of mine that I met at an influencer conference at Hispanicized, she's on Univision. And I'll show you, I think it's called Fitness Latina. She does it all in Espanol on Univision, but I see that for you. So there's a couple things that Eva said I want all of you to hear. Number one, she did not feel comfortable at first, but what did she do? She did it anyway. And she practiced, and she shifted, and I talk about this almost on every podcast, from self to service, right? So it's not about you. It's about you helping and solving the pain and problem that your target market has. And that's why I always say clarity is cash. People need to know when they get on social media, who are they helping and with what? Because if they don't, what are they going to talk about? Because one of the best things that you said and that you did is to be seen and to be visible. You need to get yourself out there. Right? Mm-hmm. And that consistency in everything. You did it every single week. Wow. And so some of the response from people like writing in.
Oh, they love it. They're like, you've changed my life. Thank you I never thought about these subjects. My husband and I are having dialects now. I gave birth 2.5 months ago. So that first week, I gave birth on Monday, and that Wednesday I was on Wealthy Wednesday. Like, you just have to be consistent. And everybody was like, you don't have to. I'm like, it's not a have to. I enjoy it. It's my gift to the universe, if you want to call it that, And so the feedback that I get is, thank you for talking about these things because I probably wouldn't. Thank you about putting yourself out there because I really appreciate it. I've been thinking about this, but I didn't know how to approach it. Or I never really thought about that. Like the last one that I did, I talked about women issues and statistics and why it's so important for us women to, plan financially. And women specifically, were listening to the statistics and they're like, I had no idea. Just the divorce rates, and the widow rates. And so we're talking about these things that I would say your average person is not just going to take the time to look this up because they're busy, running a household, working, and so forth. So if I could be that vehicle to provide that on something that to me, I find so much passion behind, why not? If I can make it easier for somebody else, why not? Like you said, Deborah, you went and you have all this experience and all the mistakes you did. I have made tons of mistakes that I've learned so much from, where I don't want others to do that.
Exactly.
I don't want others to go through that because it just delays their growth. And so if I can be the catalyst to push forward and have you grow quicker and have you have results faster, then here we are.
And the content for every week for 3 years are the questions that people ask you, and they DM you and say, but how do I do this? And how do I do this? And yeah.
And if somebody wants to talk about something specific on my website, they're able to submit questions if it's like a subject matter that they want to talk about. And then I just research that subject matter. And then because it's easier for me, the do's and the don'ts of those things and what's important and what's not important, and put it out there. But these are all questions that people have had. One of the questions that I get is, how do you talk to your spouse about money? Because sometimes there's a clash, And my husband and I used to have a webinar training. It was called Winning as a Unit, because when I got married, and two, in the transitions of my life, it's how I've put the questions out. Like, I was getting married, so we talked about that. I'm a mother now, so we talk about why it's important, your role as a mother, not only as a mother, but the other people, the little humans that now rely on you and you're responsible for. So as I grow, I also grow with you, because as I'm growing about new questions that I never had before, right? And so these questions come about in the Wealthy Wednesday topics, which have been amazing.
I love it. So I have on the screen, for those of you watching, the IG for at Eva Macias, Wealthy Wednesdays at 7 p.m., right? Every Wednesday Pacific time. So you definitely want to tune in. And I also want you to be inspired that you could do that each and every week, because as a speaker, one of the best things that people need to know is what are they going to hire you for? What are you an expert on? So how did you become a financial expert / speaker?
So again, I just did it. I started. Oh, lovely. I have a visitor in the room now. Sorry about that. Didn't know he was coming in. This is why this is live, right? So how I started teaching in classrooms. So I do 403Bs, if people don't know what that is. And so I actually needed to start preparing for 403Bs in classrooms. So I started teaching in classrooms first, and I was so scared. I still remember the day that I was like, there's no way I'm going to teach teachers. Like, teachers know how to teach. I'm just doing my thing. And I said, no, I have the information that they need. I get to go out there and do it. And so I started teaching in a classroom setting for about 10 to 15 teachers. And then that grew to 30 and 40 and so forth. And then I just said, well, if I'm teaching it to 10 people, I can teach it to 100, 200, 300 people.
Yeah.
So I said, the number shouldn't matter. It just feels like there's more eyes on me. However, again, I couldn't make it about me. I had to just really speak from where my point was going to be, from the heart, and authenticity, vulnerability, and the point across, so that this way people could see and feel, not just like hear me. They need to feel that I can make a difference in their lives. And I literally just started focusing on them. My largest audience has been about 300 people. And it all started from a classroom in actually East LA that I used to teach at. And now, and I've done it on social media. And now to me, it's like an audience. If there's 1,000 people, I don't care. I just need to make sure that we get the message across.
Exact. And that, that's the tagline for the podcast, that you are a messenger for a very important message. And what you would add is that, it is not about you, it's about them. And when you shift your attention from, oh, they're looking at me, what about my hair? What about this? Because people think, oh, I have to wait till I'm ready to step on Instagram or step on a stage. And the only way you're going to get better is to get feedback. It's like being a comedian. You have to go to these comedy shows and have the feedback from an audience. And it's putting yourself out there and being courageous for a goal and a vision that's bigger than yourself, which is like seeing your parents.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. And the only way you're going to get the experience is being on stage. And it's not even like, it's feedback from the audience, but it's also the level of confidence. As you do it more, you have a little more confidence. So you're building up your confidence where now you're willing to take on 10 people, or, be in an audience of 10 people versus 1,000. So it's building your confidence as well.
Exactly. And speaking is really like 10 or 20% of it. The other 80% of it is really the marketing.
Absolutely.
What advice, because to me, you're a marketing maven. I admire you.
Thank you.
I constantly am telling people, go to her Instagram. This is what I want your Instagram to look like.
Oh.
So what advice do you have for speakers on marketing and branding and having themselves to be really focused and visible online?
Be consistent and hire a professional, because you can't be a professional at everything. So
Right.
one of the biggest things that I did is I immediately, you go into the scarcity, like, I don't know if I can afford that person, right? If you're just starting off. Well,
Right.
let me tell you something. You cannot afford not to. So I early on hired on a marketing specialist to build and help me build my brand, because I knew what I wanted to say.
I wonder why you were doing everything right. I'm like, she's doing everything right.
Yes. And I did that, but I didn't know anything about it. I just didn't know if they were going to take my money and run. But I started learning. So it's not just running a business, being a financial expert, being an author. It's learning how to market yourself. And so I hired somebody on. And then from that point forward, I was able to say, okay, I like this, I don't like this. And I've learned so much about marketing myself. And also, how do I like to be marketed? Like, what message do I want, right? Because there's certain marketing things that just don't work for me. And so I just started hiring professionals that would help me. Even early on, I said, this is something that I need to invest in, and it's an investment in my business. And because of this, I'm moving forward with it.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
invest in yourself. And the number one thing that you can invest in is marketing, because without that, you could have the best message. You could be the best speaker, but if no one knows who you are, you're not going to be on any stages. So because I was telling people at the beginning about passive income and having multiple streams. We can't just be a speaker. We can't just see clients. We also have to have programs and other options. Can you talk about your financial bootcamp and some of the other services?
Sure. I actually designed a financial bootcamp that's designed for women that say, I don't have time or I don't have money. We literally break it down in literally 5 weeks. You're going to get your budget on track. You're going to know what's happening in your household. And we're going to it's a bootcamp. So you get it done quick, because we don't have time and we don't have money. That's the lie that we keep telling ourselves. So I created that. You get so creative when you're passionate, the creativity just flows. And so for me, that business, and it wasn't even a business, it was like, I kept hearing women say that, and I'm like, stop lying to yourself. Let me show you how. And from listening to my audience, that's how I created the financial bootcamp. That financial bootcamp's been around for 2.5 years. And this last session, we have 100 participants in it. We've had over 400 participants already graduate through financial bootcamp.
That's awesome. And you do it online on Zoom?
It's all on Zoom now. The next one starts July 28th. And again, it started in my home office with 8 people testing out, right? Beta testing if this is going to work. And I said, hey, 8 of my closest clients and friends, I'm like, come join this. Let me know what you like, what you didn't like, and how we can get better at this. And let's get started. It started with 8 women in my office. And now we have 100 plus participants in this last one that we're doing right now.
That is so awesome. So it starts July 28th. Is that what day of the week is that?
It falls so we do them on Tuesdays. So it's Tuesdays from 6:30 to 8:30. And that is really about you just taking ownership, not being in it. The boot camp is for us to move you forward in confidence, that we can be able to show you how you can win and not feel less than, or feel scarcity, or feel like you've been doing it wrong, or blame it, or become your parent's story. It's about taking full responsibility. This is what I've done, and this is what I'm doing moving forward. And it's quick. And I say it's quick because we don't have time to judge. This is not about judging anybody. It's just more of, I'm going to get down and dirty. I'm going to do the work. I'm going to look at these finances as much as I want to avoid them. And I'm going to take full responsibility. And I'm going to know that I can win in my life.
Yeah, because I think a lot of people, like I used to be, not anymore, but an avoider. Like I didn't even want to open my mail at certain times, And it's like whatever you focus on, when you focus on money, more money comes to you because you're giving it energy, you're giving it attention. Then it's like You love it, it loves you.
You respect it, it respects you. You show up for it, it will show up for you. And that's what we teach on the boot camp. And again, it's another stream of income, as well as writing a book was another stream of income.
Ooh, talk about your
And so,
book.
yeah, so becoming an author was another message. I wrote that book 4 years ago, but I was so scared in releasing it because I was like, I don't know if I really have a message worth giving. That conversation never really goes away.
Right.
And I remember hearing Grant Cardone say, I wrote a best-selling book, not a best written book. And that made a lot of sense to me. I
Yeah.
was like, oh, I need to drop this book. So I heard that message in January. That's now probably 3 years ago. I heard that message and it landed in my, like, I was like, okay, I need to write this book. So by February 22nd of the following month, I finished the book. I had a book launch. Nobody had books in their hand. And I had a book launch for 250 people that showed up, and nobody had books. That's how powerful it can be when you set your mind to it. The book was, it was really targeted toward Latina women, because I think we sometimes don't find books specifically for us that talk to us in our culture as well. And so I wrote the book. And for me, it wasn't, oh, I'm going to make all this money. Yes, I get, royalties from the book from being an author, but it was more of, this is my new business card.
Exactly.
And so writing a book was my new business card. And writing the book has opened up a lot of opportunities for speaking, a lot of opportunities, for bigger brands too, to like know that you're serious and you're committed. And so the more you do it out there in the different ways, through the boot camps, through the becoming an author, through Wealthy Wednesdays, through my social media marketing, all that has pretty much packaged me up in a way that people can now, first of all, know me and trust that I've been doing this for the time. So therefore, if they need a speaker, or if they need, a presenter, they know to come to me because I've been consistent, and they know what they can expect based on all the previous work that I've done. And I've worked with, Fortune 500 companies that I haven't reached out to them. They've reached out to me. They're looking at me, and I'm over here like, I had no idea you were looking at me.
And that's the thing about consistency, because you don't know what brands are watching you. I mean, I literally booked Procter and Gamble from Facebook. You know what I mean? Verizon from YouTube. It's so important to be consistent and to really get your message out there. And the book is a big deal. And I have a lot of listeners that procrastinate forever. I call them mañana juanas on their book. Is there any little tip you could give people to get it done?
Yes. Don't think too much about it.
Exactly.
Don't think about it. Remember, if you think too much about it, you already made it about you. Right. And therefore, it's not about you. I always tell this to people.
We should name this podcast, It's Not About You.
I know, which is true. Like, it's so true. It's not about you. It's actually about your audience, because you want to give a message, right? And so anytime you make anything about you, then you go into the fear factor. And so for me, it's easy for me to go into that, or the I'm not good enough and all those. But I've learned to train my ego to shut up. And I've said,
your amigo.
Yes, like I've learned to shut her up, and I've learned to say, this is about the audience that I'm reaching out, even if it's that one person. And that has ultimately gotten me to so many opportunities. And don't overcomplicate it. It's not that complex. And mind you, I'm a self-published author. I had no idea. It was never in my life resume that I wanted to write a book. It just hit me where I was like, how can I impact more lives without me meeting them one-on-one, FaceTime, and me spending time with my family? And I said, a book. And that's actually how I came about writing the book. And, if it's 8 chapters and there's simple chapters, if there's 10 chapters, get an outline, get it out there, and make sure you don't get stuck in just writing. I had a ghostwriter because that worked for me. And so I got a ghostwriter and I made it happen. So if you know you're a procrastinator because you write, but you want to write a book, then don't do it that way. Get a ghostwriter. So it's whatever is going to get the message out there as quickly as possible. And again, it's not about you. It's about the message you have, because we all have that message. And as soon as you make it about you, you've already lost.
And if you need the money to hire a ghostwriter, go to @Eva.
Yes,
right?
Yes.
Watch her Wealthy Wednesday, and you're going to learn how to have the money, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's so very important.
Deborah, one of the things I wanted to say really quickly, don't ever let money and distance get in the way of your success. And so Money and distance should never be an obstacle in your
And when
success.
you say distance, what do you mean
So
distance?
some people, if they have an opportunity in Texas, they won't go to Texas because they don't have the money to buy the tickets. You see? And so some people don't think that there's opportunities in other states. Like I never thought my financial boot camp was going to be in other states. We've gone to Texas, Chicago, New Jersey. Like
That's
we have it
awesome.
in so many different states. We're nationwide right now because we've had different states. Women take it from different states. So what I'm saying is, don't ever use the excuse that it's too far for an opportunity. Don't ever use the excuse, I don't have the money. It's how can I create the resources? And literally, your mind will go into this creative space that allows you to. I didn't know how to write a book. I didn't know how to start a financial boot camp. I had no idea. I did it. And along the way, I learned the lessons. And then I realized the people that I needed help. And then I hired them. So you're not going to know everything at the beginning. And that's okay.
I love it because it's mindset. It's the quality of your questions or the quality of your life. Don't say, oh, I don't have the money. Say, how can I find the money? One of my
Yes.
best speaking engagements that I got with JP Morgan, I flew to Miami. I flew myself to a conference that I didn't have a ticket for, manifested a ticket, and then booked that client. But if I didn't take that risk and invest in myself, I wouldn't have been able to book that gig. So it's so
Absolutely.
important not to let time or not to let money or distance or time get in
Or
your way of your wealth, because whether your goal is to be a paid speaker, to be a wealthy woman or man, if you're listening, you definitely want to follow my friend. You definitely want to get into her boot camp. And by the way, maybe you're going to be worldwide because of Zoom now. I have my
hey,
listeners, I have listeners in Colombia. I have listeners in Argentina. Let's get you global.
love it.
Yes, make sure you go to evamacias.com. And when you go to her Instagram, you could sign up for the email list, right? So that you can
Yes.
get information of, and do you remind us when it's Wealthy Wednesday? Because sometimes I forget. I need to set an alarm.
I do. I actually go on Instagram Live. We send email reminders. And also, if people want to get a free copy of my book, they can just sign up. They can just go get a free copy of my book if they don't want to get it on Amazon. You can go and sign up, give me your email, and we'll send it to you for free.
What? I got to get that book. I got to get
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
exciting. That's awesome. Thank you for that gift and thank you for your time. I know you're a new mom and I so appreciate your being
Thank
here.
you.
You're
Thank you.
sharing your wisdom, you're sharing
Thank
your
you.
abundance of wealth of information. And I'm so grateful that you were here on the show. And I know that people took so many notes because it's not about you. Any closing words for the podcast?
Yes. Remember that God put you on this planet for a reason, and it's your responsibility to shine your light upon that. Because my husband has taught me this, that by you lighting another candle, your light will never fall out. So your light will never die. So continue lighting candles and shining your light upon all of those people that are literally praying for you to get out of your own way, so that this way you can bring magic into their lives.
Oh my gosh. She said it's your responsibility. So those of you, no more mañana wana, no more procrastinating, because it is your responsibility to let your light shine and you're going to empower and inspire so many. So thank you so much for being with us. And
Thank you.
you all for tuning in every week on Tune In Tuesday. This is our 67th episode. I'm so grateful that you're here. If you're listening on iTunes, make sure you write a review. If you're listening on YouTube, make sure that you subscribe and write a comment. And if you have a guest that you would like to recommend, I'd love to have them on the show. And remember, if you want to be an effective and dynamic webinar facilitator, I am doing an amazing workshop online on Zoom on Wednesday, July 1st for Wednesday webinars. And I will be happy to be able to share with you all my secrets. Okay, so remember, you are a messenger for a very important message. And with the power of synergy, anything is possible. Ciao.